So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another semester of events hosted by the Language Collaboratory. We're a partnership for the advancement of intercollegiate dialogue on the teaching of languages and cultures, driven by language centers and institutes at the University of Iowa, the University of Michigan, the University of Minnesota, Michigan State University, and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Our aim is to provide collaborative professional learning opportunities for educators of language, culture, and literature at the 5 institutions. Our series this spring aims at furthering conversations that help uncover the complexities of striking a balance on professional, academic, and personal goals to achieve the well-being of instructors and students of languages. We address this issue through the lens of current shared circumstances, approaching it from a variety of perspectives, building on the expertise of individuals on our own campuses. We aim to share insights and to encourage interinstitutional dialogue, bridging the institutional distance and fostering a collaborative interchange of ideas. You are invited to contribute to what we hope will be a lively discussion. We are recording today's session, or at least parts of it, and wanted to let you know that live transcription is available as well. Our next event will be held next week at this time, hosted by the University of Michigan, basically addressing the issue of balancing academic rigor with flexibility in this new remote environment. Today's session is meant to introduce the topic for the semester and as an opportunity to network somewhat among the participants. It is facilitated by myself. I'm Dan Soneson, the director of the Language Center at the University of Minnesota, and my colleague Adolfo Carrillo, who's the Technology-Enhanced Language Learning Specialist, also located in the Language Center at the University of Minnesota. I'll let Adolfo tell us what we're going to do today.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. So for today's session, what we are planning is to do a brief review introduction of the focus article that we have chosen for this session. And then we're going to mix it up a little bit by doing a networking exercise in which we'll provide you with some guiding questions in which you will be sharing some of your experiences so far in the online and remote teaching situations. And then we'll reconvene to highlight some of the best strategies that you identified in your groups. So if we can have the next slide. So we'll start by just briefly providing a summary of the article from the Chronicle. And I know not everyone is subscribed to the article, so we'll be sharing it here in the chat in case you want to look at it as I briefly provide a summary of it. The article resonated with a lot of the experiences that we are hearing from the instructors. As a support unit at the University of Minnesota, the Language Center is in close contact with language instructors from 5 language departments. And some of the things that we are hearing from our instructors clearly resonate with the issues identified in the article. And we thought it was a good idea to have a conversation about the proposed strategies to implement into what has now been coined as the emergency pivoting to online. So with this, you all had the opportunity to innovate in your teaching due to the increased demand for a new course formats, and also because of the demands from teaching from home and what these implications had into your teaching load. Some of the strategies are summarized on the screen. You can see there are 8, and I'm going to quickly highlight highlight, usually there are strengths and limitations into online teaching. And one of the things to consider is that there will be a learning curve, obviously, if you didn't have an experience with online teaching, and how to approach this really yielded different results and experiences for different people. For example, if you were under the impression that your 50-minute lesson needed to be also a 50-minute synchronous Zoom session, you found more limitations in terms of the time you needed to prepare for that 50-minute of synchronous time with your students. It's much more exhausting to be in Zoom. And so therefore, coming to the realization that some of the things that are possible online may not necessarily translate to the things that you were doing in your classes. One example of these also is about identifying ways in which you can ease some of the allocated time that you have for planning, for grading. So the article makes a good point in regards to identifying times to allocate for all of these tasks that you would have in addition to what you normally do. As instructors, we are familiar with backwards design, and we institute that in our course planning. But one idea is, what about using this backward design also to create work your directions, and in that way do some of the things that you normally would do for your teaching to manage a little better the allocated times that you have for all of the different tasks that you are adding as part of your online teaching. The other aspect that I wanted to highlight is about being intentional and effective in your communications. So one of the strategies is about creating explicit instructions for the different tasks that you create for online. And this just translates into having fewer requests for clarification from your students, and fewer requests for meetings to elaborate more on the instructions that you already provide. And finally, just again, coming to the realization that there may be times in which you fall behind, and that you need time to just breathe and catch up with all the work that you have. And it's okay to hit pause. So as long as you communicate to your students why you need to pause your teaching, and what's your plan of attack for getting back and restating your teaching calendar, for example. I'm now going to pass it on to Dan, who will be explaining more what we're going to do next.
Thanks, Adolfo. We've had a couple of glitches here with the technology. Are we coming through okay now? Okay, it helps if we turn our videos off, but we're going to ask you to turn your video on again, because we're going to do a little group work in breakout rooms. And one of the things that I found interesting in this article is the notion of the balancing of synchronous and asynchronous. And what she recommends is a 75% asynchronous to 25% synchronous meeting. And I immediately thought, well, that works nicely maybe for a history course or a political science, but I'm wondering what we think about that in terms of language. Is 25% synchronous online enough when we're teaching language? So one of the things that we want to talk about is, basically based on what we've read in this essay, kind of hearing from you, getting you talking with one another about whether or not you have found a proper balance between, or a useful balance between synchronous and asynchronous instruction. Then just, kind of getting us going about, what strategies are you employing to balance your teaching involvement with other aspects of your life? How do you manage the increased preparation time? We've heard from several of you that, my goodness, it takes a lot longer to prepare for a Zoom course than it does to prepare for an in-person course. How are you working with that? How are you managing that? And then just simply wide open, what major challenge remains as a roadblock to your well-being? The focus or the umbrella for this semester is not just balancing, but to keep us all sane, just in terms of our own well-being and the well-being of our students. And then finally, just a little brainstorming about what expectations do you have of this series coming up. And what we're going to have you do is we're going to have you go to a Jamboard. And we'll start out at the beginning. I will put the link to the Jamboard in the chat. Maybe it's there already. But if you want to go there, and what we're going to have you do, we have 7 slides. And at the outset, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on this first slide, but as you work through some of these questions with your group, please introduce yourself. Tell something about your teaching context as you're going through this. And you navigate in this program by this little button up here. So this will take me to slide 2. And then I've reproduced the questions that were on our slide that we were just looking at. So here's proper balance. And we've set up spots where you can start typing. So if you just click in here and start typing, this is what we do, then it's ready for you to start filling in. Again, navigate from one to the next, and you can go back and forth just by using these arrows up at the top. Is that fairly clear? What you want to do in your group is not have everybody writing at once, but maybe have someone take notes that we can then come back and report on what came out of your discussion in your groups. So Adolfo, are we ready?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay, we'll send you into breakout rooms and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. We need more time for this. There was a hand raised.
Yeah, it's gone now.
Okay. Let's take a quick look. We have basically we're probably going to go over just a few minutes right now. And if you need to go, that's fine. We're basically aiming at 30 minutes for these sessions throughout the semester, with an optional 15 minutes tacked on for further discussion for those who have time and interest in sticking around. Basically, what we have here, I'm going to share my screen for a second. Those of you, some of you have been absolutely marvelous with using the little stars that we added, so that the idea there was to kind of take a look and kind of highlight areas that you feel you can relate to. What seems here is that, my goodness, synchronous is where we are, and it's not a lot of asynchronous happening. Strategies to employ balance in your life, it's difficult. Limiting email and work between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m., that seems to work for several people. We had someone who said, I don't balance at all, it's all work. And that, I'm not, that's can be really tiring. Let's look a little further just quickly to get to this. Manage increased preparation time. Automatize various aspects of teaching at the start. So make sure you've got a kind of a structure all in place so that it's just filling in the blanks as you get ready for the next class. Adapt them to go along so that it's not, you don't have to have everything all ready at once. Sharing lesson plans among teachers teaching the same thing. Great. And we didn't get to the last few, which is okay. Is there anything that someone wants to highlight or push more that just really rose to the top in your conversations? And feel free to just unmute yourself and contribute that way. Yes, sorry.
Okay, I just want to say that even if we have tried to organize time, to organize calendar, timetables, students expect us to be ready to help them any time of the day. Most professors in the program use WhatsApp as a way to communicate effectively with students, and they report that they have been getting messages around midnight or very late at night. Somehow they feel compelled to answer right then, because if they don't, the students feel neglected, or they feel that we are not paying enough attention to their needs. So timetables have not worked so far.
Has anybody had success with that, limiting the time that students can contact you and that they expect replies?
Even before COVID, I was already doing that, where I was upfront at the beginning of the semester just saying, you know, after 8 p.m. I won't be accessible, but I'll be accessible around 7 or 8 in the morning, and no one has ever had issue with that. No one's found that unreasonable. And since I have told them that from the beginning, then they either plan ahead or they just know, well, I'm not going to hear from her, and you know that, and they're willing to wait. And on top of that, you know, I'll have some students even who have apologized saying, hey, I know I should have told you this sooner, but I've gotten feedback that they've said they're happy with my response rate and that I get back to them quickly. So far, no complaints.
So one strategy I can share is instituting a discussion forum in your course management system that it's just about questions on any assignments or course related questions that you can have students subscribe to, and have students who may know the answer already to some of the questions from other students respond, because they are the ones who are up at night and they are the ones who can more timely get back to each other. So that might be one possibility that you can try. But the other, going back to the article, the cause and effect, if we have more detailed instructions, might be something that also can ease some of the requirements for clarification.
Yosef.
So as for me, I am handling a lower secondary students. So they send me the answers for their homework on WhatsApp. I had to go through each work individually per student. So that was a very big load on me. Later on, I just figured out a way to work this out. So I send the answers, the model answers, the next day. So they just get the answers, that they check their work. And I improved this the next time by sharing their answers. So this was very, encouraging and very good for them. They got very excited. They sent the answers, hoping that their answers get, shared. So that was created a sense of, competition between the students. It worked well.
Yeah, ways to economize, to help the students self-correct and also to highlight the student's work.
Yes.
One or two. Great. I'm sorry, we're going to cut this because we really don't want, as far as the presentation part of this goes, I don't want to go over. but we will be around for the next couple of minutes if people want to stick around. I just want to give you a reminder of next week's session. Our ideal is to have conversation, to have people talk with one another, to get to network across our institutions and across the globe. Our presentations are meant to be less presentation and more discussion. And so I think our topic next week is exactly on the mark as far as particularly post-secondary education goes. And I also wanted to point out or put in a plug for an upcoming online conference a week from Saturday that's being hosted by the Midwest Association for Language Learning Technology, where there will be a series of lightning talks, people sharing success stories that they've had in teaching with activities and applications and so on, followed by hands-on workshops focusing on how to put one of these activities together. All of that's going to be recorded, so it's all going to be available if you if you miss a particular session. We're having 3 streams going at once, and the cost includes MWALT membership. It's $20. So that will give you access to all of the recordings after that. That's it for our official program. And like I say, we're here to stick around for a few more minutes for people who want to talk.